Hello and welcome to Mandibil. As some of you who follow the Mandibil Discord server, I noted that I sent an email to Stefan Molyneux and Free Domain where I pointed out that I had finished this five-part deconstruction of the discussion we had on a show recently on metaphysics. And the wording was as shown in this video here, where I wrote something like, Dear Stefan Molyneux / whoever received this email, as the other debater in the show mentioned in the subject of this email, I find it necessary to point out a few things about how it unfolded. I have condensed it into a 5-part deconstruction with a link. I hope you take the time to understand this critique and learn how to up your philosophical game. Best regards, Mandibil. Now, I'm pretty sure that he would not be sitting down watching my 6, 7, or 8 hour 5-part deconstruction of this discussion we had, because he's not really interested in metaphysics as long as it doesn't cohere with his mantras of staying sane and all this sort of psychology. And what I'm trying to get at, if I could, is that when I listen to this free domain Telegram chat, I'm not sure what the title actually is. It's called FDRP, What Gives Me Hope? Friday, Ask Me Anything, I would suppose, right? Sorry for not being clear on the title. As I don't know whether or not this will be recorded and put out published on Odysee and so on, Rumble and what have you. I'm going to play it here and record it because if it at some point I think it disappears from Telegram, so I can't play it. I'm not too sure, but just to be safe, right? And the point is, he mentions that he received this email, and that's kind of interesting. So I just wanted to comment on this.
To discuss. Oh, I will mention, I got an email from someone who put, I think, 5-part video series together.
So he received a link from someone, he says, right? He didn't receive an email from me, but from someone. Now, I will give him that much. Then when I reread this email or the phrasing I used, it could be misinterpreted as if it is a third party relating or pointing to the other debater in the show, right? And I framed it this way: as the other debater in the show mentioned, that could be interpreted as some guy, third party, relating to what the debater in the show mentioned, right? So he hasn't even read all through this list here, and possibly he's forgotten what the name was of the guy he had the debate with, though it was the free domain metaphysics debate, the free domain metaphysics debate, right? So when I write best regards Mandibil down below, he doesn't connect the dots. So he thinks this is a third party writing to him and has created a 5-part deconstruction, whatever. So he doesn't even have to check it out, right? So he doesn't care. Now, if he had, I could, it could be misunderstood as if it's a third party. Now I read it again. I wasn't, English is not my first language, right? But what I'm writing here is, as the other debater in the show mentioned, as the other debater in the show mentioned in the subject of this email, right? So the show called The Free Domain Metaphysics Debate. I find it necessary to point out a few things about how it unfolded, right? So I can see that it could be misinterpreted, if you're not reading carefully, that it's some third party talking about me and how I sort of, behaved, how it whatever, right? Something. So that's the first thing.
Criticizing the metaphysics debate that I had. What was it, last week?
It wasn't a critique, right? He could interpret it as a critique, but he was very adamant about not interpreting what people say. I was not allowed to interpret him, right? I should recapture word by word how he had argued, so that I showed that I was adhering to his teachings, something like that. But he interprets deconstruction as critique, right?
With the oddly aggressive foreign-born person, Danish?
Oddly aggressive. Oddly aggressive? It takes a bit of hysterical imagination to call me aggressive. I think I was the calm one in this situation, right? Though I had every reason to get angry at how he treated me and how he moved the goalpost, and red herrings and straw manning and all sorts of yelling and interrupting while he told me I couldn't interrupt, and so on and so on and so on, right? Destroying an hour of debate and then shutting me off, and then throwing shit at me for 20 minutes without me being able to defend myself, right? And he calls me the oddly aggressive European dude or something like that. What a fucking asshole, right? What a dick, man.
Danish, I guess. Now I want a Danish. Anyway.
A Danish, I guess, right? Okay.
So he sent me an email, and I assumed it was all about critiquing my metaphysics, right?
No, it was a deconstruction. There might be critique in it, but if you haven't viewed it, listened to it, you can't call it a critique when it's called a deconstruction, because you say you are not allowed to interpret. You told me that on the show, right? So, as a guy who sent this email to this dude, right? It's kind of annoying. I know it's the possibility of interpreting, and then he says there's some odd dude writing about another odd dude, deconstruction, whatever. He doesn't even care to give it a shot, right? So I might send him a new email and pointing out what is going on here, right?
Objective reality doesn't exist. Other people.
I didn't say objective reality doesn't exist. He said that I think that objective reality doesn't exist, right? Now, we might disagree on the terms used about objective and reality and so on, but that's why we needed to do that kind of metaphysics, to make sure that we're talking about the same fucking thing. So he gets to throw shit out as if it's given to him. He does metaphysics in this, I am receiving shit from the outside, and I'm telling you about it, and it's certain, and shit like that, right? So he is actually a proponent of that benevolent demon outside his experience that feeds him how things should be understood, right? He doesn't understand that there's nothing that is given from the ground floor. Nothing is given to you. That's why you're doing metaphysics in the first place, right? If you don't understand this, you're just an idiot, right? Claiming that you're sort of 40 years of philosophy and you're found the Holy Grail and all sorts of, I'm the greatest philosopher of all time, and what else, right? And then you can't even understand these simple, basic first principles, right? It's ridiculous, man. It's beyond ridiculous.
People don't exist. You can't prove anything.
People don't exist. You can't prove anything. He just pulls shit out of his ass and throw it at people. And he's just sort of a next level straw man, right? It's like he just creates shit out of nowhere and says that's what you're arguing. And even if people say, no, that's not what I'm arguing, he's like, yes, that's what you're arguing, and I'm keep throwing shit at you, and if you don't shut up, I'm going to mute you, and then shit on you for 20 minutes without you being able to defend yourself, right? What a fucking psycho, man. Oh.
It's like, okay, well, why are you sending me an email? Boy, people get mad when you cut through the sophistry and just point out the...
That for the 117th time, right? The point is not whether or not you experience stuff. The point is, if you believe that some of that is some kind of external existence, find your word of choice to describe, a term of choice to describe what you mean by an external whatever, right? If you say you have some kind of access to that, because if you do not have access to that external to your mind, how the hell do you know about it? How the hell do you have anything to say about it? How are you referencing it if it's out of mind, right? If it's out of mind, you can't reference it, you can't talk about it, right? So somehow that which you are referencing must be available to your mind, right? Somehow or another, you have to point out how that freaking external existence is available to your mind. And the point is, and my point is, when it's available to your mind, then it must be inside the encompassment of that mind. And if it's in your mind, well, by definition, it's no longer an external, right? So if you are saying that that which is on the inside is also on outside, how do you get to do that, right? If you're saying it's some kind of sense that registers whatever outside, well, it's not just senses you're referring to, right? You are referring to that which you believe the senses are responsible for pointing to. But if it has been changed from that which is outside into some kind of sense data and then re-established as some kind of object in your mind, well, that object cannot possibly be the same as what it is out there, even if you had access to it, right? Which is impossible, and that's the paradox that's built into it. You can't get to it. You can't get to whatever it is out there. All your experience is inside your mind. And what the hell is wrong with that? Right? It's like saying, no, I'm not going to buy that Rolls Royce because I'm not interested in the shell and the name of it and the whatever. I need to be inside the motor, the machine. I need to be. I don't like the labels, the icon of it, right? Or the picture of it or something like that. No, but that's what you're using in order to control that car. You use the steering wheel, you use the gear stick, and you use the dashboard and whatever, right? You don't move around the petrol or the sticks and the rubber wheels, and no, you are sitting in a control position with some kind of experience that correlates with whatever is going out there. The only difference in this analogy is you do not have access to that which is out there, and you don't need that, because through evolution you have trained yourself to understand, when I see that fucking tomato on my inner screen, right? I know that I can shove it into my face and I can possibly use it to survive. I don't need to know what the hell it is out there. Possibly I wouldn't. If I could somehow get to it, I would possibly not understand what the fuck it is, because it's on another planet, so to say. It's another paradigm, right?
Find blank empirical evidence of what they themselves are actually doing. Boy, people just get mad. Because
mad? What do you mean by get mad? The only one I heard getting mad on this show was you, right? You contradicted your own rules of behavior, and you kept shouting, and you kept, and moving the goalpost and straw manning and everything under the sun you could possibly get away with to try to get it out of that debate while, stamping me as being the bad debater, right? Well, I was trying my best to stay focused and on the target and trying to get back to the core question, which was what we decided or agreed to when I asked about, would you be kind enough to elaborate on your metaphysics? And then you say you would be happy to do that. Okay, and then basically the next thing you did was jumping into epistemology, right? And either it's because you don't understand the delineations between metaphysics or epistemology, or you're too stupid to understand the difference, or you did it deliberately, right? Either way, you're a fucking shitty philosopher. It doesn't take, to be the sharpest tool in the shed in order to understand that.
See, empiricism is the opposite of sophistry. Empiricism is beautiful.
Empiricism. Okay. So when you see the ball roll under the couch, right? You no longer have empirical data of that fucking ball, right? So the ball doesn't exist according to empiricism. Of course you will refute that because you know it's there. You think you know it. No, you are reasoning your way to that knowledge, right? And I don't think you understand what empiricism entails. Because you're not in a scientific mindset. You only use it as some kind of, stick you can throw at people and say, it must be science. Trust the science, as Fauci says, right? Empiricism means the only access you can have is through qualia. You will call it sense data. I will say qualia, right? At least you need to have qualia. If you do not have qualia, you do not have knowledge, right? That's what it says. So stick to it, man, right?
Empiricism of someone's actions?
An action is not empirical. That's an interpretation. What color does an action have? What sound does an action have? What taste does an action have? And so on. It has none of these, right? So it's not empirical. It can't be objective. An action is an interpretation. That you do not either understand, right? There's actually a whole freaking lot of shit you don't understand in philosophy. In basic stuff you don't understand.
Completely blows apart the sophistry of their language.
The sophistry. Oh, this is Mr. Sophistry himself lecturing people, other people, on being sophist. Why do you think people call your show in order to screw with your mind or something like that? Why would they spend their hard-earned life on calling you up and saying, I want to destroy Mr. Philosophy, right? I want to take his grail away. Maybe, just maybe, out of the big heart of people who can actually think, they are trying to help you get to the next level in philosophy, right? But you think everybody's out to, destroy your perfect life, right? You're the greatest philosopher, you're the greatest novel writer, you have the greatest family and the greatest wife and the greatest daughter, and everything is just perfect, right? So why are these idiots calling me trying to destroy my life? It's paranoia, man, right? You're not right in your head. I mean, you can't handle the truth, man, right? Sort of, you have no spine of any kind, right?
I mean, the guy who I had the debate with got mad because I was yelling.
Oh, I got mad. Oh, got mad.
Not at him, but about the argument, where he said...
Not at him. No. I was passionate, as you said. I was just passionate. He kept yelling about food and air and, water and yelling, to dominate, right? And I got mad because he yelled at me. How dare I? Now, I find it atrocious behavior, right? But I kept calm. I just said, well, you said that you were not allowed to, interrupt. But apparently you are allowed to yell. And then he just said, no, I'm just passionate. Sort of, instead of saying, oh, I'm sorry, I yelled at you. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I'm breaking my own, high levels of virtue here. Please tell me what you're thinking. Please elaborate on your philosophy. Something like that. No. Passive aggressiveness, right? No. Or gaslighting, rather, right? No, I was passionate. I was not yelling. These noises that I interpret as, passion, you interpret that as yelling. But no, you don't understand what yelling is and what passion is. I was passionate, Fucking idiot, man, right?
Well, where is objective reality? What is it? And I said, it's where you...
Where is objective reality? No. Oh, man. Oh. So he's just, straw. This is one fucking pile of straw men that he's just throwing out there because he doesn't have any decent argument, right? He only has these sophist tricks that is there to sort of kick people out of his system because he's one of the lousiest philosophers I have ever heard, right? He can't even fucking argue his way out of a shoebox, right? He's such a fucking amateur, right? Oh, man.
Get your food from. That's where you get your food from. And he got kind of...
That's not the point where I get my food from. The point is the experience of food. Where do you believe that is? Right? I've kept trying to point this out. Is that experience of food, is that in your mind? Or is it outside, right? And somebody says, yeah, I know that in the beginning everything is in your mind. It's okay. But then the tomato is in your mind or what? So he understands that it's in your mind, but then he talks about this sort of weird, freaky, permanent, secure, everlasting, certain objectivity out there, right? That's where he goes to find his tomatoes, right? What does he do? He's just walking around in his experiences, just like everybody else. He just fetishizes certain experiences as being outside. And what I'm trying to point out, when he does that, it entails a paradox. Because you can't have an outside. You can call it outside, but that doesn't become an outside in the relation to your experience, right? So he's simply too stupid to understand this problem.
Upset about that. You're yelling and so on. It's like, how do you know? How do you know I exist? How do you know yelling is bad? How do you know I am yelling?
I didn't say that yelling is bad, right? So now he's gaslighting into now that nobody really knows what yelling is. How do you know what yelling is? How do you know what? So he's a fucking sophist idiot, right? How can he sleep at night? He must be some kind of psycho narcissist, right? With grandiose that everybody else is basically beneath him unless they brown nose him from dusk to dawn, right? So he's sitting there in his ivory tower thinking he's sort of the god of philosophy or something like that, right? And those little peons there, when they say things he doesn't like, it's like, I'll just kick them out, right? They call them shit and, frame them in all sorts of weird ways so that those who really licked my ass, they understand that what they're supposed to think, right? It's such a shitty, idiotic, disgusting, cultish behavior. Oh, man. Ooh.
How do you know your senses work, right? But he was real certain about how bad that was for me to raise my voice, even though he didn't believe in reality that much. So
he didn't really believe in what the man, right? We didn't get to this. You were talking about what you call reality. And I'm saying you can't do that unless you have settled your fucking metaphysics, right? You can't just refer to something that is disconnected from the ground floor, right? Which was your experiences, right? And all of a sudden you use a term called reality. Yeah, you might have done some metaphysics that leads you there, but I would like to understand those steps in your philosophy and how you argue your way there. That's what we are going for. No. It's because I don't believe in reality, right? You're a moron, man. You have no fucking understanding of how to argue rigidly, right? You have no way of approaching other people who think differently, or maybe you could say more coherently than you, right? When you sense this potential pointing out something that might be a weakness in your own argument, you start to attack people with all sorts of stuff except good philosophy, right? Except the argument you need to present. Because you don't have it, you only have these other stupid sophist tricks to throw at people because you don't have the actual arguments, right?
Yeah, people do just get kind of mad about this kind of stuff. Where you say, well, based on you sending me an email, of course you believe in the senses, you believe in objective reality, you believe in self and other, and you believe that there are logical, rational standards that everybody has to comply with and conform with, and I deviated from them. You just point that stuff out. People get really mad. Now, I think it's a healthy kind of anger.
It's not anger. It's a, yeah, you could say it's some kind of anger. It's a nuisance that you're so stupid that you don't understand things, right? That's annoying to me, right? It's fucking annoying that you can't understand basic stuff. And if you didn't run around claiming yourself to be the greatest philosopher of all time, basically, I wouldn't care about you, right? But the sheer scope of your grandiosity is fucking triggering to me, right? And that might just be me, or maybe other people would say, I don't care about Stefan Molyneux. You fucking trigger me because you're so grandiosely stupid that, I mean, if I can't get you to understand this, at least I can get other people to understand how fucking stupid you are, right? At least I can do that.
It's a healthy kind of anger. Like, if you get a counterfeit detection machine, the people who make counterfeit bills, I mean, assuming that they won't all counterfeit these days, but the people who make counterfeit bills are going to get really mad at you, but it's a healthy kind of anger because they should stop stealing from everyone and they should go do something productive. But they don't, right? So because we keep enabling them. So it's a healthy kind of anger. You know, sophistry is so productive. Sophistry is so powerful.
Yeah, you should know, right? Takes one to know it takes one to know one, something like that.
Right? How do you take down a nuclear-armed power? Well, history will forever record how you take it down is with sophistry. The pen is mightier than the sword. Magic users, and it's funny, this all goes all the way back to Dungeons and Dragons. So in Dungeons and Dragons,
it's also, you know, you're just labeling people. You're more or less directly telling everybody that I'm a sophist, right? Or other guy you think wrote this email is a sophist, right? It's just throwing shit at people while they can't defend themselves, right? So you make sure that your weird little minions in your cult still come back and say, oh, you're so great. Yes, let me brown nose you some more and send some bitcoins up your ass, right? He only has 1,200, you know, through his Bitcoin account. 1,200 Bitcoin. It's like, I don't know, $30 million or something like that. And he asks for donations. Give me a fucking break, man.
To just simplify it quite considerably, there's a lot of truth in it, which is why I think the game remains popular. So in Dungeons and Dragons, you have a fighter and you have a wizard.
Are we talking about some other topic now? Dungeons and Dragons? Is it some kind of anecdote, or is he on to the next subject?
They're called magic users, but anyway, wizard, right? A fighter and a wizard. I mean, there's clerics and paladins and all that, but let's just, a fighter and a wizard. Now, a fighter has a sword and a shield and armor and goes in and bashes stuff, and the wizard, he starts off with like a couple of spells, and they were so lame that they added these mini spells called cantrips. And I played a magic user once. Dear Lord, it's just about the most boring thing in the known universe. Because you've got a whole 3-hour adventure one night, and what do you get? 2 spells. Ooh, 2 spells. Wow. Okay. Really boring. Really boring. It's even more boring than being a thief, because at least a thief can check for traps and disarm traps and sneak up and stab attacks and stuff like that. But being a wizard is really, really boring. And you're very much underpowered. You start off with 4 hit points, which is nothing, right? The damage can be 1 to 4, 1 to 6, 1 to 8, 1 to 12. So 1 hit and you're dead. And plus, you have no armor. You can't wear armor because you need the physical dexterity to cast your spells, right? So in Dungeons & Dragons, as a wizard, you start off super boring. You know, like you literally, over a 3-hour adventure, at least when I was playing, ooh, I'm going to cast my magic missile and detect invisibility or detect magic. And like, that's it. That's all you got. Whereas the fighters are in there, you know, bash, 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 like lawnmowers, just going down through things. I remember fighting a whole bunch of kobolds, which are like really weak creatures. And like just the fight just went, it's like you get a hand cramp from rolling so much. It's like having a bad hand in Uno or being a teenage boy. So wizards start off really lame, really boring. But boy gosh, my boy. As a wizard, when you start getting higher up in levels and higher up in power, see, the power of the fighter goes up linear, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, it goes up. But the power of the wizard goes up exponentially. Now, this is true in life. You think of the tough guys, the sports athletes, the tough guys in high school. Well, you know, some of them go into the military and they get really well trained and learn how to fight and all that. And it's really cool and powerful. Whereas the nerds and the wizards and so on, they're just working with language and computer code or propaganda or whatever it is, convincing people. And so the jocks start off strong, the nerds start off weak. But later on, the jocks are in a woke military where they have to take a vaccine, and the nerds are running the Department of Education and indoctrinating everyone. So yeah, it's just kind of true that the language people start off super weak, but end up, in conjunction with the state, with the power of the state, they end up super strong. So I remember that first night at my friend's place. First night I played Dungeons & Dragons. The orc was the pig-faced humanoid, and I saw it so vividly in my mind's eye, it was creepy. We were playing Caves of Chaos, and we came across an orc encampment. We decided to encircle and attack them. And it squealed, and oh, man, so vivid. I don't know if that's true for everyone, but man, it came alive in my brain in truly fantastical ways. All right, so this is your show, my friends. I am super happy to hear from you.
Yeah, except that dude, he spent the time, an hour, trying to destroy metaphysics, right? So, yeah, I'd like to hear from you, yes. Yeah, unless you're good at philosophy, then I want to kick you to the curb, right? Okay, this is the end of this, I think. I just wanted to comment on it, and, it has a reference to my deconstructions, and clearly shows that, I mean, you can't even say that he's not even trying, right? He's not even trying to do so in some decent philosophy or anything like that. He is obviously on a mission to. It might be because he's simply unable to understand it, right? I mean, you could say, fair enough, he doesn't understand it, right? But he also doesn't have any kind of humility that now for 15 years, on and off, sort of people have called in and tried to argue something along these lines, right? And every time it's the same, can you eat without eating, and all these stupid arguments, right? That actually tells you that he doesn't understand what is being talked about. And he thinks that these are cruncher arguments, clincher, or what's it called, that points out how stupid the other debater is, right? But the debater is talking about something else that he is talking about. So he goes down to his cult and say how stupid they are, right? And he's the one who is on the other planet, right? He's disconnected from. I think there is a. It seems to me sometimes philosophy is. Sometimes it is like waiting until it happens, right? It's like there's some protective layer put over the good philosophy that's sort of dormant somewhere in your mind, right? The mind, it's almost like it already knows these things. Or no, I shouldn't use the term know, but is aware of it, right? And the rest of the mind is just trying to subdue it in order for the sort of artificial expansion pack to the mind to take control and make sure that you can function in this civilization, quote, which is basically controlling people and controlling yourself into submission, right? If you hadn't that expansion pack, you were running around being yourself, and that wouldn't be necessarily advantageous, right? I would prefer that people were more like that, but so it's like sometimes it feels to me like if I keep crunching on something that seems to be my mind. I'm what's the word I'm looking for? It's sort of hot topic for me, right? That I sort of keep reflecting on and finding videos or podcasts or books even about it, articles, right? There's something my mind wants to understand, and then at some point it sort of clicks, right? It's sort of the penny drops, and it seems to me that no penny has dropped for Stefan Molyneux the last 15 years, right? And that makes me think that no penny has dropped for 40 years, actually, right? When he read, Ayn Rand and, what's it called, the world shake, Atlas Shrugged, and those, right? He sort of, now I know everything, right? Immanuel Kant is bad, Ayn Rand is good, something like that, right? Aristotle is the best philosopher, and, objective reality, right? And since then, he's just keep pounding the same story, right? So he might be good at, sort of applying stuff to the everyday and have ideas about, universality of this and that, right? Fine. But we get to these core, deep level philosophy, he's absolutely awful, right? And he's not only awful, but he doesn't understand how awful it is. And he just keeps going as if he's great. It's like he has no humility, right? He has no skepticism or doubt built into his own philosophy, which is sort of a hallmark of a good philosopher. They will always be doubtful, always critical, self-critical, always skeptical, and so on, right? People like him who are so convinced of their own greatness, they're the fucking dangerous people, right? They're the fucking dangerous people. I'm considering that I might write a new email to tell him how idiotic he is, right? So I'm considering, maybe you have an idea how to write it. Let me know. Otherwise, check out the Discord and consider a donation. Otherwise, see you in the next one.